Welcome to this new episode of The Disabled Life. The purpose of this podcast is to tell people how I live my life. The name I'm using on the podcast now is The Disabled Guy, because I felt that you needed to hear something as opposed to just my voice there. I'm a disabled male living in Florida with cerebral palsy. I'm here to tell you how I live my life and some of the volunteer work that I do and how I managed to do it with cerebral palsy. Without further ado, let's go into the episode. What I'm going to talk to you about today is when I was the poster child for Easter seals. For those of you that remember that I've been following it for a while, I briefly touched on this, but I didn't go into depth on how the process was. Now this is what I'm going to do today. So the first step was, let me explain where it came from, how this happened. I was in special education in one of the local elementary schools. So we had occupational and physical therapy, and some of us had speech therapy. So those were the three therapies that were offered at the school where I was at, and I needed both occupational and physical. So they gave me those things. So now let's talk. So those therapists worked for the Easter Seals Association. So every year they had a telethon to raise money for this Easter Seals people, the group. And so let me explain how that process works. So they were asked to submit names of children that they thought were good for the poster child program. So, okay, let me explain how this process works. First thing they do is they submit names after they ask parents. Then after that they took us all and we all went down to the Easter Seals offices. So they took us, they interviewed us. I had a couple, like 6, 7 people. But since they needed somebody talkative, and of course, as you hear me here, and I am sitting here talking to a microphone, so I was talkative even then. So then they picked me. So the following things started to happen. Okay, so one day they said, okay, they took me over to University of Miami. I met Jim Kelly there. He gave me a football that I still have, signed by him, an official NCAA football that I still have. So let me just talk more here. So okay, that was for a PR experience. Okay. So then after that one, they the newspaper, not the serious people. The newspaper came to the house and they interviewed us here to do an article on us. Okay, so next steps. That's 2 steps already. The next step was they needed to go. Okay, I needed to go with my uncle. I needed to go to I believe it was the Hyatt Regency Hotel, where they were going to do a advertisement for the telethon. I obviously needed to be on that. So in that phase, we did the advertisement. I got to see Jim Kelly once again, and I also met Howard Schnellenberger, the coach of the University of Miami football team. Okay, I went there and got that done. Here comes the strange part. I don't know how the heck during all this I got sick, and during some of this I got sick. I had a stomach virus. I would often get them when I was a kid. So I would often get the stomach virus. So I went to the doctor and I said, I told the doctor, I need to get rid. I was, 10 years old, I think I was. So I told him, I said, I need to get rid of this because I'm the poster child for Easter seals. And okay, so they gave me some shots, and they always used to do that. But I wanted to make sure that I was getting the right stuff. The shots and things that I needed to cover to get rid of this problem, because I was sick. And I needed to go on TV, which I needed to do, which I knew I needed to do. So, okay, so then when we did the commercial, they showed us the ballroom where the telethon was going to be not filmed, filmed live. It wasn't recorded, it was live. So, okay, I remember I went with my uncle, because my mom couldn't do it or something. I don't know, we were away. So my uncle and I went, we met these people, did the advertisement, did a walkthrough. They showed us they took me into the ballroom, empty ballroom, but they took me in there. They said, this is where the telethon is going to be. So the first night I went on, and I was nervous. I could barely talk. So then, let me talk here more. So, okay, the second night, I was supposed to be given cue cards, but they did not do that because I got away from stage fright, and I got out of mic fright, which obviously I don't have right now. So I get in there and I start. Oh, sorry. Beforehand, I had met Jimmy Cephalo, which was hosting the telethon. So I went on there, but before I went on there, the second night, I don't know if it was mom or dad. One of them threw $10 into my coat pocket, because I was wearing a coat and semi-formal, coat and tie and everything. I was wearing all this stuff. So when it was hot, it was all this. So I went in there and did my thing. So they want to give me cue cards. I didn't need them cue cards, because I started following Jimmy Cephalo and what he was doing. When he realized that, he threw the microphone in my face, put it in my face, and let me run with it. Because you know what it is, I ended up asking. I wasn't even told to do this, but I went with it, and they went with it. I started asking for donations. I started asking people to call, and all these things. That's the experience was that how they picked us and what they did. And another one that I think I talked about before, but I'm gonna finish this one out. I'm gonna finish this one out here, because this was an experience that let me finish this one out. Then I get a phone call to go open the Sesame Street live show. That was a different thing. So again, I get dressed in a coat and tie again. And this was a weird one. This was weird because so I was told, I went there and they put me on the stage. And but the curtains were closed on the stage. I didn't see what was going on. I didn't see people didn't see me yet. So they said, come walk here and stand here. Because I stand up with a walker so I could stand. So I'm standing there. So I'm standing right there, and all of a sudden the curtains open up and there's this big light, stage light, spotlight, staring in my face. So I have to go. So I go in there. And I said, "Welcome to Sesame Street Live," and I golfed. I don't know if they closed the curtain down. I don't know if they closed the curtain, but I know I left the stage. So I went there. I was there watching the show, and all of a sudden, one of the people from the show told me to go backstage with them. So I went back there, and it was and my sister got the opportunity to go back. She was smaller than me, so she got the opportunity to go back, and we were in the backstage talking to the character performers. Actually, that was an interesting part, and yeah, that was interesting. And I'm like, okay, so interestingly, that I got to do that stuff. But I wanted to talk about this because these are experiences that all children don't get. To me, it's important to not only say the negative things, but the positive things and the good things I went through. The good things also, because I enjoy my life, but I've gone through many negatives also, and it's something that really I for one the good things are good, but the bad things are hard. But I also like to bring some kind of lightness to the podcast, because it's coming toward the end of the year. It's coming toward Christmas, and I did not want to end my podcast. I did not want to end my podcast for the year on the heavy note, and the note of the note on the last episode. It was not an easy episode to do, but this one was fun. The other one was work. This one was fun because I didn't have to think about anything. I just had to speak. Because there are episodes where you have to think, how are you gonna say this for it to make sense? This episode here, I did not have to do that. In closing, let me say thank you for listening to this episode of The Disabled Life. You can follow me on the following platforms. You can follow me at Good Pods. You can leave comments, messages there. You can also follow me on Twitter at The Disabled Guy. And you can also listen to me on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, and many others. Once again, thank you for listening, and I'll also give you my email. My email is Kilo Echo 4 Kilo Echo Yankee, or KE4KEY@gmail.com. Once again, thank you, and thank you for your support, and I'll see you next week. And also, I'm going to state here, because when I did that outro, I did not realize it. You could also rate me on Spotify, and you can also I would really enjoy it if you give me a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast and and Spotify there, because that helps the algorithm.